just happy.
It's a beautiful train wreck.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, or so they say. But that saying doesn't exactly fit when you're a celebrity and everything you do in Vegas or anywhere else is breaking news. And that's especially true when there are wedding bells involved.
Not that we're married. We're not married. I just want to make sure.
But she is my wife.
Number 1. Kourtney Kardashian and Travis Barker. We already knew that Kourtney and Travis, or Kravis as some like to refer to them, were head over heels in love. Between the massive amounts of PDA and Travis's romantic proposal, they made that loud and clear. And to commemorate that, the couple tied the knot on April 3rd of this year, and did so, quite literally, right after the eventful Grammy Awards. A few days later, Kourtney posted about the wedding, but she also mentioned that she and Travis didn't have a marriage license yet, and ended with, "Practice makes perfect." So we can't be sure if they are legally married just yet. But either way, wedding bells were definitely heard in Vegas this month. Number 2. Sophie Turner and Joe Jonas. The singer and Game of Thrones star officially tied the knot in France in June of 2019, but that wasn't actually their first wedding. There must be something about the excitement of award shows and weddings because, similar to Kourtney and Travis, Joe and Sophie also got married in May of 2019 after the Billboard Music Awards. Obviously, a lavish wedding in France is great, but with an Elvis impersonator officiating the wedding and Diplo as a DJ, it seems like they still had a great time that night. And seeing as how the two of them welcomed their first child in July of 2020, we'll say that things seem to be going pretty well. Number 3. Lily Allen and David Harbour. A weekend in Vegas, an Elvis impersonator, and a wedding ceremony followed by In-N-Out burgers? Honestly, it sounds like the perfect weekend. And that's exactly what happened in September of 2020 when the singer and Stranger Things actor got hitched in Las Vegas. The wedding was pretty low-key, but the two of them looked incredibly happy. I mean, who wouldn't be when there's In-N-Out? And seeing as how they got married exactly one day after getting their marriage license, we'd say they're pretty in love. Number 4. Tana Mongeau and Jake Paul. Here we go. It's usually assumed that if two people decide to get married on a whim, especially in Vegas, that marriage probably won't last long. And while that's not always the case by any means, a lot of people assume that to be the very case when it comes to Tana and Jake, who had a $500,000 wedding in Vegas only months after dating. And we're not here to say that their relationship was fake or anything, but the fact that the wedding was filmed by MTV and fans had to pay $50 just to be able to stream the event, stream with pretty bad quality, we might add, did seem like a bit of a cash grab. And then fans realized that they didn't even have a marriage license and weren't legally married. Eventually, the two called it quits after less than 6 months after tying the knot. Number 5. Britney Spears and Jason Alexander. It may have been short-lived, but Britney and Jason's wedding sparked quite the buzz back in 2004 when the two of them got married at a little white wedding chapel in Las Vegas. But after only 55 hours of marriage, the couple annulled. Fans were led to believe the couple just decided they were making a snap decision too quickly, but years later, Jason put everything on the table during a podcast interview. He mentioned that once Britney's mother Lynn found out about their wedding, she and Britney's management team pushed to have the marriage annulled. They were promised that if they ever felt the same way later down the road, the two could have a proper wedding. But as we now know, this turned out to be one of many lies down the road. Number 6. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos. And other times, tying the knot in Vegas is actually the perfect way to go. At least that's what worked for Mark and Kelly back in 1996 when they got married at Chapel of the Bells 1 year after meeting. Surprisingly, they'd actually had a brief breakup right beforehand, but when they got back together, they said their I-dos the very next day. And nearly 26 years later, the two are still a happy couple and continue to post about their wedding anniversaries on social media. And we stan. Number 7. Arie Luyendyk Jr. and Lauren Burnham. So far in this video, we've seen couples who decided to get married in Vegas before having their official ceremonies at a later date. But in the case of Lauren and Arie, things were actually kind of reversed. The two originally got married in January of 2019 in Maui, Hawaii, and 8 months later, they decided to get hitched a second time in Vegas, which they'd already been contemplating back when they were still planning their Maui wedding. And when the family happened to be together in Vegas shortly after their daughter was born, they decided, why not? And in September of 2019, they said I do for the second time. Number 8. Shia LaBeouf and Mia Goth. The actors and co-stars got married-ish in October of 2016 in Vegas. And in case you were wondering, yes, there was an Elvis impersonator present because Vegas. We say married-ish because even though the ceremony seemed like an official wedding for the longtime couple, they didn't actually have a marriage license. So many referred to their wedding as more of a commitment ceremony or practice wedding. But seeing as how both Shia and Maya have been known for being a little out there when it comes to ways of portraying performance art pieces, this wedding could very well have been one of itself. But unfortunately, Shia and Maya split in September of 2018. Number 9. Nicolas Cage and Riko Shibata. The Hollywood actor and his then-girlfriend of over a year decided to take their relationship one step further in February of 2021 when they got married at the Las Vegas Wynn Hotel. It was announced in January of this year that the two are even expecting a baby together, which we're happy for. And seeing as how Nicolas is 58 and Riko is 27, and one of Nicolas's kids is already 4 years older than his new stepmom, it may be an interesting dynamic. But this isn't Cage's first marriage by a long shot, or even his first wedding in Vegas. In March of 2019, he and then-girlfriend Erica Koik got married during an apparently drunk night in Vegas, but were divorced only 4 days later. Number 10. Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton. After the two co-stars met on the set of Pushing Tin back in 1999, the couple decided to legally commemorate their love in May of 2000 when they got married at the Little Church of the West in Vegas. The two seemed happy enough, but at the time, Billy was already engaged to actress Laura Dern, who came home from filming only to discover that her fiancé got hitched to Angelina. We know, plot twist. But as we now know, that marriage didn't really work out. As Billy focused on music, Angelina focused on her career and her philanthropic work, and the two eventually called it quits about 2 years later. Number 11. Demi Moore and Bruce Willis. They were two of the biggest powerhouses in Hollywood when they decided to elope in 1987. The two actors tied the knot in a Golden Nugget hotel in Vegas just 3 months after they started dating. A few months later in December of that year, and they had their second wedding ceremony. But over a decade later, in '98, they separated and were divorced by 2000. But even though their marriage ended, their friendship hasn't. Surprisingly, the two even spent a few weeks quarantining together earlier during the pandemic with their kids. Number 12. Nicky Hilton and Todd Andrew Meester. The hotel heiress and sister to famed personality and Kardashian BFF Paris Hilton got hitched in August 2004 to money manager Todd while in Vegas. While the wedding seemed to be a pretty impromptu event, Nicole Richie and Bijou Phillips also attended the quick wedding ceremony. Unfortunately, the Vegas newlyweds wouldn't go on to last. Seeing as how Nicky spent so much of her time in LA and Todd was always in New York for work, the two decided to amicably annul the marriage a few months later. Number 13. The Dream and Christina Milian. The two musicians were ecstatic when they first got hitched in September of 2009 in Vegas. After dating for a few months, they decided to take their budding relationship to the next level. They even had a daughter together. But unfortunately, after less than a year of marriage, the couple eventually called it quits. Rumor had it that the two actually split earlier, but seeing as how they just welcomed their first kid to the family, they held off on breaking up to protect and care for their new daughter. Number 14. Jodie Sweetin and Cody Herpin. From Full House to the front altar, Jodie married Cody in July of 2007. The two had dated for a few months after meeting in May of that same year and decided to tie the knot at the Little Church of the West on the Las Vegas Strip. They even welcomed a daughter a year later. Unfortunately, Jodie was struggling with substance abuse issues and eventually filed for divorce in April of 2008. While the two officially ended their marriage in 2010, Jodie recently got engaged in January of this year, so we may be hearing wedding bells again soon. Number 15. Cher and Greg Allman. We know that Sonny and Cher were truly one of a kind back in the day. But then there was Greg Allman, and that marriage was interesting, to put it simply. Greg struggled with substance abuse issues and even passed out during their first date. But about 6 months after dating, they decided to make it official in Vegas and got married in 1975. And 9 days later, Cher filed for divorce when his substance issues started to become more than she could handle. But instead, they actually stuck it out for 3 more years and even welcomed a son. But eventually, they did call it quits in 1979. Were there any celebrities you didn't expect to see in today's video? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to like the video and subscribe to The Things Celebrity for more.